Hello, everyone. I'm Heather Newman. I'm CMO and co-founder of Content Panda, along with Simeon and our other business partner, Mike Thompson, who is not here today. My background a little bit is that I started off at Microsoft back in 2001. I was on the original SharePoint marketing team and helped do a lot of fun things, including start the SharePoint conference and onboard the first 60 partners for SharePoint. So I've been in it for a long time. Met this guy there. I'll let him talk about that a little bit. I went on to run events for years for Microsoft, doing all the tech eds and WPCs and IT forums and Tech Ed Europes and all of that stuff. So anytime Office or SharePoint had an event, I pretty much had the headset on and was yelling at people. So that was my job for a long time. And then I ran global marketing for AvePoint for about 3 years, which was awesome. Got to go around the world quite a bit, which is great. I'm a part of the CMO club. I do a lot with women in technology. I helped host the panel yesterday. I'm a part of the International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners. So I've got my fingers in a lot of things. I live in Sebastopol, California, which is in Sonoma County. We drink some wine there every once in a while. Sometimes. And yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm pretty active on social media, so I'm at Hedda Newman is my handle up there, and yeah, that's me.
My name's Simeon Cathy. This is me on LinkedIn up in the top left-hand corner. It's my alter ego. I'm the CEO of Content Panda. Content Panda started from an idea I had about 5 years ago. And then I sat down and I told my daughter about it as I was helping her with her computer. And she showed me a picture of a panda, and that's how I came up with the name. I always get asked that, so I figured I would share early. I'm also on the board of directors for a company that I founded in 2007, a philanthropy company called TizBest. And I started at Microsoft in 1998 on a small little team, about 25 people. And that was before it was called SharePoint by the marketing team. So I've been doing SharePoint a really long time. I've had a chance to work with a lot of big companies and help people kind of adopt SharePoint, roll SharePoint out, and make the best uses of it. I live in Maui. I'm also a father and an author. And sometimes I get up in front of people and speak.
Yep. So today is about adoption, and many people, we sort of want to just put that word up and look at it a little bit of, the act of taking something on as your own. And a lot of people adopt children, which is lovely, and also free kittens or ideas and habits, sometimes pandas as well. So today we want to talk to you about adoption. It's something that we sort of have lived and breathed for a really long time. Rolling out SharePoint when it originally came out up to now, adoption is still something that people struggle with. Even if it's a brand new installation or if it's a migration from 2007 to 2013 or whatever, we're finding, and you're seeing lots of push by Microsoft itself about adoption. So we're going to go through some sort of tried and true tested ways to really get SharePoint adopted inside your organization, or Office 365 if you're going that way into the cloud.
And another little disclaimer. We do this talk, we co-present this presentation. It's usually an hour long, and we usually show our product this much, very little. This one is going to be less about exactly what you should do for adoption and more about our product. So we were given the chance, we partnered with, well, I'll tell you about that later. But this is tied to a checklist of things to really you'll want to do. And at the very end, the last slide, which you won't see, but it'll be in the presentation for download, has a checklist of the things you really want to do inside the organization to drive SharePoint usage and adoption. To start, checklist item number 1 is to outline your vision. This really means to, and again, there's some good transitions there for you. This is really about asking yourself, stopping for a minute, quieting everything down and revisiting the reasons you got SharePoint in the first place. Sometimes it's easy to be inundated with support requests if you're in IT or if you're in the business trying to help people find documents and do all sorts of things like that. And for a lot of us, SharePoint to us is being told, hey, you're the new site owner for this SharePoint site. And people saying, I don't even know what SharePoint is. So if you're in a role where you need to help people and get use out of SharePoint, really step back for a minute and revisit the reason you got SharePoint in the first place and make sure it's tied to delivering value to the business. Because technology, while it's really exciting and cool and new features are coming out and new stuff in the cloud, none of that is really worth anything unless it's your hobby, unless you're delivering value to the business. The next item on the checklist is to really pinpoint business use cases. So go to the business, go to the departments, sit down with them, interview them, do surveys. Go to each one of these departments is going to have different needs. Listen to their pain points. A company I just did some work with, they're one of the largest healthcare providers in the United States with over 9.3 million members. They decided that to not use the word SharePoint, but instead go from an IT perspective, go to the businesses and start asking them, what do you do on a daily basis? Why is it hard? Tell us, get some detail about that. And instead of worrying about what SharePoint can and can't do, they just made a big, long laundry list from all the different departments. And after they put that laundry list together, they sat down with a committee, a kind of a steering committee, and reviewed them and prioritized all of those things. Said, okay, what are some of the things we could use SharePoint for as a criteria? What kind of impact can we have to the business? How important is it to the business? And where are we wasting time and money in the business? Really figure out what kind of bubbles up to the top. And then take that and put it in front, go to their executives and get sponsorship. Take the data from those surveys and interviews, after the prioritization exercise and filter exercise, bring it to the executive team and say, hey, here's what we heard from the business. Here's where we're wasting time, we're wasting money, and we've got a tool that we believe can help. So going and getting that executive sponsorship is key to rolling out any technology, especially SharePoint, since it's such a toolbox. This next one is to really just release things in phases. Don't try to boil the ocean. I'm going to share with you a story of a company that no longer exists. I promise you it's not my fault. The SharePoint project didn't have anything to do with it. But Washington Mutual was a really large bank entity in the United States. I went in there in 2003 after I released SharePoint 2003 for Microsoft. It was my first consulting gig. And I sat down with those guys and they said, hey, we want to build an 11-server farm. We want to integrate with our content management server that Microsoft gave us. We want to rip out SharePoint Search and put in WAMoogle. They had a Google appliance there. And they're really excited about just completely changing the technology landscape of the entire business. You know, they have their loan stuff, their banking stuff that wasn't going to change, but across the board, their intranet was going to change. So we did some surveys. We talked to them. We said, hey, well, how can we, let's look at what people are really, what the business really needs. It turns out they were very siloed, over 2,000 retail banks. People didn't know each other, talk to each other. Information wasn't shared. They wanted to enable knowledge sharing. They wanted to break down those geographic boundaries and really get people to collaborate and work together. And one of the big ones they got was IT support was getting phone calls with people asking to be connected to experts about certain topics. And IT was going, we don't, we're just here doing technology. So we put together a proposal, and we came up with a really simple solution. We took their entire Active Directory, and we plugged SharePoint into it, imported the entire Active Directory, which is pretty simple. We had to do some tweaks and some special query parameters. That took an extra couple of days. But within a week, we had the entire population, 60,000 people, inside of a database, inside SharePoint, and searchable. We did a few other tweaks to the UI so that we could search by area code, so we could search by expertise and some other things. But very quickly, we had a huge win and the killer app delivered to the business. Everyone in the entire company ended up using SharePoint. Full adoption across the company, great introduction to a tool that added value immediately. And this kind of goes with the last slide, plan communications, build community. On the last slide, one of the things we did is we had the executives, the CEO of the company, we wrote the email for him, and we had him send it out to all the employees, which also helped drive adoption of the tool and awareness. So on the communication, planned communication, and this is something you have to do. If you're building technology solutions and you're just putting them out there, people will gravitate towards them. People will start using them. They'll start communicating about them. But what you end up with is a lot of just sort of random, uncontrolled adoption of tools. And then you have to sort of clean up the mess afterwards with governance. And, oh my gosh, we didn't realize that was going to happen. So you want to really kind of control the communication. Timing is key. Getting executives, preparing them, scheduling communications to come out from executives when you're ready. Really targeting your audience. Instead of telling your entire audience, hey, here's all the 100 things that SharePoint can do, really focus on things that you know are going to affect what they need on a daily basis. Again, rolling out just a little bit of functionality at a time. And then promote your champions. Look for people who adopt quickly. Look at those wins, look at what they're doing, interview them, and use those data points to then communicate out again. So keep that going. And then wash, rinse, and repeat. Don't stop communicating. Get the word out there. Keep awareness. You guys see advertising out there. You just keep seeing things over and over and over, and you have to ask yourself, gosh, I don't want to see this anymore. But eventually, when you're in the store buying that product, that's the reason why. So who here is in IT? Who's developers, IT admin? Yeah, so usually everybody. Part of your job, it turns out, is to be a marketer, right? You're now in marketing. You've got the technology and the logic and the infrastructure and the functionality, but now you got to turn around and be able to explain to it and sell it, essentially, to the business, right? Let them know that the value is there just under the layer, under the surface. So you guys like the transitions? Is this nice? We tried to use I think we used every single one of them.
Absolutely. So we wanted to go into an example then back in the day. In 2003, the SharePoint team internally at Microsoft rolled out My Sites. Does everybody remember My Sites? Yes? My Sites? Yeah.
OneDrive, SkyDrive.
Yeah, what are they now? SkyDrive, OneDrive for Business, yep. So my job was to help drive adoption of these inside of Microsoft. We rolled out and nobody was using it inside, and many of you know the term dog food, right? Where you eat your own dog food, so this was a dog food project. So basically, we kind of followed the same model that we've been talking about here, is that we defined our vision. We needed the field to understand it as well because they were going to sell it. So the objective was to pretty much get all the field and all of Microsoft aware of what a My Site was, because it's kind of hidden. Why would you use it if you don't know what it is? A couple of emails were sent out, but that really didn't work. So one of the things we did is we went to Kurt Delbenny, who was CVP at the time, and Jeff Teeper, and said, hey, we'd like to do a project where we do a big end-user adoption campaign. And they said, okay, sounds good. Let's see what you got. So we ended up writing up that executive communications plan. It wasn't just one email, but it was a successive number of emails over a 3-month period that we put out and had them put out. We wrote it for them. That's really, get your marketing team to help you write these things for you. Make sure that you're not asking an executive to do it yourself, because they'll never do it. And then we had a team, the SharePoint Rangers. I don't know if folks remember that team back in the day too. Those fellas and gals became champions for the project. We also picked a theme. So the I Want My Site came from, everybody remember I Want My MTV? That one? Basically, we based it on that. We used a lot of televisions and that kind of stuff, and we got the creative teams involved. We built these posters, we built window clings, we built all kinds of stuff to give out to people. We rolled this to 65,000 people, the entire Microsoft organization. We also made it fun. We did a contest where the folks who actually went in to their My Site and uploaded some documents, you could win a prize. One of the things we had to do is that I had to go to IT and actually get them to allow us to roll out a content editor web part across everyone's computers when they turned them on, which was no great feat because they never want to do anything like that at all. And so gamifying and making it fun was something that we also did. And then at the end of the day, we looked at our metrics to make sure we capped our goals. So pretty much, Microsoft is doing the same thing that organizations have to do when they roll out a SharePoint site. You can be a teeny tiny SMB, you can be a large enterprise. It's exactly the same. The steps are usually the same. So this is a great example of Microsoft eating their own dog food and also rolling out SharePoint inside their own organization.
Did you get good adoption?
Yes. Yes, we did.
Well, so now we're going to get into the fun part for us, training and support. This is, again, another item on the checklist for getting adoption. So it turns out that there's been a lot of research done about how do you get the most out of technology. This comes from a study that Microsoft did through a third party that nearly 52% of organizational users are introduced to SharePoint with no training, no communication plan. And there's another article that AIM just released. It's actually a big survey with a bunch of data in it that talks about some of the problems with adoption around SharePoint and the low numbers of users who, high in licenses, low in usage. Some organizations have SharePoint goes viral. In other organizations, it just kind of sits there and it's almost like a landfill for old documents. People just back up their dump truck and just throw stuff in there. So this is where we get to show you our product. Now, back when we released SharePoint 2001 at Microsoft, there was really only these two ways to get training and support. The question mark really was the help button, or you could go download the product documentation. If you didn't find what you needed there, and you had the opportunity to call Microsoft support, and when they'd pick up the phone after asking you a series of questions, then they would go read the product documentation to you. That was about all we had in 2001 for the first version. Now, when we look at training and support options, we've got product documentation, MSDN is online, TechNet's online. Microsoft does a fair job of keeping those things up to date, and there's some social aspects there, so you get a lot of noise there. You can go to Microsoft Bing and Google something, the topic you're looking for. Go to YouTube, Vimeo, some of the video services. There's communities out there all over the place, like IT Unity. You can go follow hashtag SharePoint on Twitter. You can you can post questions and get a lot of support and training there. And then there's online training, Combined Knowledge, who's hosting this event. They've got a great online tool, and then there's some other great tools too, like Visual SP. And then instructor-led training. There's companies that you can have come in and sit down with end users and go through training sessions. Now, with all of this training and help available, you might think, gosh, this is easy. We just show everybody this slide, and they can go do it self-service. The problem is end users, when you send them to instructor-led training, they'll go, now you've lost productivity. They go learn some instructor-led stuff. They come back, and if they don't use that knowledge and those steps within the first few days, the statistics and the studies show that if you don't use it in 3 days, you lose 80% of that knowledge. So you've just thrown you not only have you paid for training, but you've lost productivity, and now you sort of pretty much just a bad investment. Some of these other tools are wonderful if people know what they're searching for, right? So an end user, how well are they going to know what to search for in SharePoint? Or if you've branded SharePoint differently, they might not even know it's called SharePoint. So great tools, a lot of opportunity. We sat back and looked at all of these tools and opportunity and thought, how can we make this contextual so that people get all of this great content that's available in the world right where they're working? And that's where we came up with, well, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. First, let me make an announcement. Yesterday, we announced via press release.
That's the best one.
Yeah, we like that one the best, so we saved that for this slide. Content Panda, us, have signed a strategic partnership with Combined Knowledge. They have one of the best help experiences for SharePoint online, and some of the guys sitting here who work on that project, they just do some really, really great stuff for self-service training, and all the way from kind of just step-by-step for little items, all the way through deep dive through learning paths, computer-based training.
Yeah, I said that your peanut butter is in our jelly, and they were like, that's so American. And they were like, I was like, and he was like, fish and chips. I was like, oh, it's like fish and chips together. So, right? Yeah, that's pretty good. We're your Lori, right? Yeah, awesome.
So we took our product, which is available for free. Did I emphasize that? Yeah, for free.
Well, there's two, but yes.
Okay, well,
I know, okay, we'll get there. Yeah, okay.
That's available for Office 365 and on-prem SharePoint 2013. So if you've got an environment you can go play with, you go up to our website, download it, install it, and you're off and running. You can check it out. I'm going to demo that to you in just in a second. We do have also a licensed version where you can manage your own content, but I think without further ado, let's just jump into the demo. I like that one too. You like that one? Okay, cool. OK, can we see? Oh, come on.
Do we need to do it over here?
I'm going to duplicate here. See if that comes up. Oh, perfect. OK, so the screen resolution isn't great, so you're not going to get the best experience on this demo, but I'll show it to you anyway. So this is just an out-of-the-box Office 365 SharePoint site that we're using for demo purposes. We've got some, the typical things you might see on a page. After you install Content Panda, which you can do with just one line of code, if you want to edit your master page, not a best practice, but you can do it. It's just like installing a Google Analytics tag or something like that. Or you can download the WSP or the app file, put it in your gallery, and deploy it to any site. For on-prem, of course, the WSP works nicely for people who like to just script stuff out. Over here on the right-hand side of the screen, this is the only alteration that we do to the user interface on SharePoint. A little panda shows up here, and I don't know if you can see that very well, but the panda has a number 17 under it.
Joe.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm going to do a Chevy Chase up here. The 17 indicates that there are 17 items on the screen that have helpful content behind them. The part that I'm going to demo you right now is just what people get for free with our tool. So an end user can just reach over here and click on the 17. And it lights up all of the things on the screen that have content. A little panda peeks behind each element and says, hey, I've got something here for you. Now you can either tap on that or click on it. If you're on a mobile device, tap. And for example, we see a lot of people who want to change the site logo. People don't really know how to do that. So when you click, we have curated content that shows up here. This one is brought by the community IT Unity, and they've got links directly to help content. So here it says it's a site logo. You can click on it to navigate to the site's welcome page, and the user can go directly to an article and find step-by-step information on exactly how to do that. Now, we've gone through, and the community's gone through the hard work of making sure that there's really great content there for end users. Just below that, we've put in some keywords that we know will match search results, and we federate that through the Bing web service. So we pull back the top 2 results, and then we allow the user to click through and see what we search for so they can continue their search, kind of give them a jump start down the path to finding whatever answer they're looking for. So if it's more of a developer topic that they're looking for, they can type development here and kind of move on from there. And then just below that, we've handpicked videos that are just out there in the public domain. So in this case, Rackspace has a video that is available on YouTube. Now, the other thing we pay attention to is how users are rating our content. So if somebody doesn't like the content that's in there, we'll go in there and find out why. We'll change it. Eventually, I think we're going to have a suggestion button there, too, where people can say, hey, go check this out. So that's really the free version. I'll show you one other page in SharePoint that people love. A new site owner gets this new site settings button. When they come to the settings page, it's a wonderful experience, as you all know. We find, what do we got here? 40 items on the page that have help content that we've gone in and tagged. Right? That's a lot of pandas on one page, I know. So, and to that point, our customers have said, hey, we hate to bother you, but can we change the panda to something else? And we said, well, sure, but that's going to cost you. So for demo purposes, I'm going to go over to the legal site here. And when you see the panda come in, we've changed it to a red panda, which we love too. Pandas are, red pandas are, yeah. And in this legal portal, where we've done a little bit of customization, this will give me the opportunity to show you our premium version. First, we've changed the icon, kind of no big deal. But second, we allow users to curate and control their own content. So let me just light up Content Panda. And then I've got a special link for myself down here for the Panda Editor. I'm going to leave this other one open here just so we can kind of switch back and forth. But on the Panda Editor side, the panda comes across as orange. And there are a bunch of different targets on the page here. The blue ones, if you can see the colors, are the free content. The green ones are free content that I've overridden with my own content. The circle with the line through it there, that's some content that we've unpublished that was free, because we don't want to show people how to do the site or change the site title for some reason. And then the orange ones, which we don't see any on the screen, are custom content. So our customers, and let's take the business use case of, this is our legal document library. And within these folders, we want to make sure people use special file naming conventions. We want to make sure they convert them to PDF before uploading. That's just our governance policy, right? So the way I would go and implement Content Panda to support the governance policy is, you can see as I'm moving around the screen here and highlighting different sections, that means that they're taggable. So all I do is right-click here. I get a new form, and I'm going to say Corp Docs, no sponsor, and we're using HTML selectors in here in jQuery to identify unique items within a page. This is totally extensible. We could go in here and say, tag anything on any text on the page that contains this particular string, for example. So it's a lot of flexibility here. The new version's coming out in a couple weeks, but it just has a button that says, it makes it a lot easier. But description, convert to PDF. And since I'm a friendly SharePoint admin, I'm going to say, please. And hit save. Oh, also, if you don't like the Panda icon there, you can just drag and drop any JPEG or GIF or PNG in there, and it'll overwrite it. So I saved that. Our target is saved, and now there's some new tabs on here. This is where I can configure the search terms. So just going to put in, let's say, convert to PDF. Okay, let's say convert PDF, save, and then let's test this out. So this will hit Bing, pull back some results. I can click on these and pop out and take a look at what they are before I decide to do that. In this case, I don't like the search results. That's not going to help my users, so I'm going to delete that. I think a video, my users like video, so let's add a new video. We'll go to YouTube. That's not YouTube, is it? I'm still getting used to this new Surface. I got the new Surface 3 Pro.
3 days ago.
Convert to PDF. Let's see, here we go. How to convert a document to a PDF. This looks handy. I watched the video. I think this is a great video. And I'm going to hit pause. And share, where do we go here? Embed. And I want to make it the right size, so we'll go 320. And then I just copy this embed markup. Now this works for any kind of a service. So the Office video stuff that's released in Office 365, that'll work as well. Put that into the markup here, title, convert, save. And then over here on my legal portal, I actually have a, or on my governance portal, I've got an article here about file naming recommendations. So I'm just going to grab this URL and then navigate back over to my legal site. And I'm going to add a link. File naming policy. Apparently I don't know how to spell either. And I'm just going to drop that in there. OK, so now we've created a new target on a page. In the Identity tab, I can also put in a path limiter, or again, this is going to be just a checkbox that says for this page only, because right now I'm tagging this, and that's going to work for all pages. And refresh my page. So next time an end user comes to this page and they click on this Panda, you get the new target with the file naming policy, which links out to that article, and a YouTube video that people can watch right there. So it's very easy to go through and kind of do what Ant likes to call, Ant sitting here in the front row, inline governance. To really take your policies and procedures and put them right in the context of where the end users are already, instead of putting your governance out in some share somewhere and then just repeatedly communicating there's stuff over here for you. And if you go read all of it, you'll understand what we're trying to do with our SharePoint environment. So I think it's a really great option. Now, to circle back to our partnership with Combined Knowledge, a few weeks ago, we've been working on this for a while, but a couple weeks ago, we did some back-end integration with their LMS system, their content management system. And so when Content Panda loads on the page, we know if this SharePoint tenant or the on-premise SharePoint environment, it has a license or a subscription to the combined knowledge content. And if the customer or our customer doesn't have a license yet, in that Panda panel, we just say, there is some premium content you could subscribe to and link them over to Combined Knowledge, a site where they can purchase that. If they do have a subscription or a license, then this is what happens. Just click on Share here, and you can see that this one's brought to you by Support Plus, which is Combined Knowledge's product, and there's a link here. And when you click through, there's no login, there's no strange user behavior. It just goes directly into that topic inside this huge amount of training content at Combined Knowledge. So we get a user who doesn't really know where to look or what to do, immediate and instant access to content, but they can also start digging into, deeper into their SharePoint kind of education experience. They can click on details and see exactly what this is about. They can watch a video, or do the computer-based training, which has a whole series of topics that they can, if they have time, go kind of dig through. And let's see here. I think that's pretty much covers it. Yep. So come back. There we go.
You got it.
All right. So that wraps up the demo, but we want you guys to remember, adopt a Panda. It's free. We've made adopting a Panda free. So go download Content Panda, install it in a demo environment, show it to some users, get some feedback. Again, this is about adoption, right? So getting people involved, see if it fits the organization or culture, see if it's something that that users would kind of take a liking to and find useful.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's how to get a hold of us. And do you want to open it up to any questions?
Yeah, anybody have any questions?
We've got a few minutes. Guys have questions or comments? Thoughts? Jokes? Yes. Yes.
You can pretty easily sort of crowdsource adding content to your organization. So you are building a site, you are installing Content Panda, and then spreading the word to the users. Okay, and the information in different web parts. Okay, you have one site, it's fine. But what if you are doing a stage rollout and you want to move this content, this crowdsourced stuff, into an acceptance environment and then a production environment? So is there a way to not to redo everything?
So Content Panda right now is in Azure, and we're using SQL in Azure. You could do an on-prem deployment of Content Panda. We do support that. So whatever content you do collect or pointers content you could push that through some SQL to SQL process. We don't have anything that really does a staged kind of publish and approval process right now. The other thing you can do too, let me see if I can pull this up. Well, so the Panda panel that pops up, that's a web form that we can build templates for as well, or you could build your own templates, and you could take requests in there, and it could even go into a SharePoint environment and kick off a workflow for approval that could then move the content into an approved state, something like that, right?
Yep.
So one of the things we really want to do, especially for the free version, is really encourage that crowdsourced, community-created content, because we don't have the time to constantly scour the internet, looking for the best, newest content. And even if we think it's great, other people might not. So we're trying to figure out how to include that up there in that panel so people can say suggest content without somebody injecting, somebody out there is going to try to inject some HTML, whatever. So we've got to have this sort of policing thing. We just haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. We think maybe having it community policed might be good, but I think we need to sort of ramp up our customer base, get people to know what we're doing, working with people like with Combined Knowledge and getting a big enough group that, because we're inside the object model or the document object model in the browser. It's a dangerous place to let people start putting stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It sounded like, I think
suggestion button or something like that. So that would be your vehicle, right?
That's, yeah, right.
As opposed to going to the Content Panda site and saying, let me find something and then add something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely on the roadmap of what we're going through next. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Oh, anything else?
So we think it's a good idea. We've got customers in 19 countries now who think it's a good idea. They're using the free version. We've got, we just launched our premium version, which allows, changing out the icons, editing your own content. And we're getting, just in the last couple of weeks since we launched that, people are getting really interested, and we're having some great demos and conversations and negotiations. So people are telling us they think it's a good idea too. And when we get that validation and we start making some money, then we're going to start adding features.
Definitely.
Given that you say 19 countries, how are you handling languages?
So our free version right now, our architecture supports multiple languages and multiple roles. So in the future, we already have a whole feature set around, are you an end user, a developer, an administrator? And the content will completely change, language and what role it's targeted to. Again, those are things we're going to roll out later as we get more validation. So,
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about the analytics stuff at all?
I might as well. So another thing on our roadmap that we think is going to be really important and useful is Content Panda is in every page. When you install it in your SharePoint environment, we load that JavaScript reference in every single page. So it's always there for you, which gives us an opportunity to do something really significant. We can track mouse movement up to every pixel at 100th of a second, right? And we can track hover, click, anything like that. So we've got a really great opportunity for analytics. Right now, all we're tracking is what help topics people choose, right? But imagine somebody navigating through SharePoint and getting to a point where they go to get help, it still doesn't give them what they want, and they want to open a support ticket. Imagine that panel somebody be able to click submit a ticket or get live support and have a dialog box open, start talking to somebody right there. And since we're tracking where the user has been, the support engineer or the ticketing system can have an audit trail of the last 5 clicks that got the person where they're at. We'll know the browser, we know the OS, we know, all kinds of really great information that you kind of have an optimal support experience. So we're looking at doing some cool stuff like that too.
Yeah, looking at the digital workplace and bringing up some sort of a dashboard that a CIO could look at and take a look at what's going on in their organization. So, cool.
Well, we're exactly out of time. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.